everybody, and welcome to the first round of our semi-final matchup of the inaugural What No You Explain Tournament of Champions, once again live from Madison Square Garden. Billy Joel can wait because we're here now, goddammit. I'm yet again your host up in the booth, Braden Thorvaldson. We've got a spectacular matchup here tonight as two of our most successful guests in detecting the lies within Two Truths and a Lie face off. You are about to witness a clash of the titans, Nathan versus Dawar. For all things you need to know about these trivia titans, we're turning to our analytics reporter and, of course, the tale of the tape. Braden? Thanks, Braden. And I am here in front of our proprietary format 187-inch plasma screen to give you all the information you need to know about our competitors. Of the 8 categories they have been asked in either of their guest episodes or in the first round of competition, they have guessed the lie correctly 75% of the time, a statistics-bucking trend if ever I saw one. Both are veterans of the podcasting and recording sphere, and both have a worryingly accurate internal lie detection device. However, this is where the similarities between the two end. Nathan has been active in live music, theater, and performance of all types, and currently has one podcast, The Last Gen Arcade, where he and his co-host Will Cowan, who he defeated last round, dive into video games from previous console generations to show the wild stories of their development, as well as whether or not these games withstood the test of time. Dawar, on the other hand, has primarily experience within the interview podcast realm, where he has carved out a niche with his combination podcast and YouTube show, Conversations with a Friend. In the show, he interviews his friends and loved ones to gain a new perspective on their lives and the experiences they have lived through. So, there you have it, Braden. Two magnificent podcasters coming from complete opposite ends of the content generation sections, going up against each other for trivia supremacy in front of a screaming crowd. What more could anyone ask for? Alright, it looks like the announcer is about to start, so we'll throw on down to the arena. Ladies and gentlemen, others of all ages, we have at long last the first semi-final matchup of the What No You Explain Tournament of Champions. The winner will go to the final to vie for true trivia supremacy, but they're not done yet. For your entertainment, these two will go head-to-head in a battle of wits and lies, so let's bring out your opponents. In the red corner, coming in with one video series, 14 episodes, and an uncountable amount of insight into friends and loved ones, it's the Smash Bros. Slammer, the conversational chess master, the Mortal Kombat Maniac himself. It's Dawar.
Woo!
And in the blue corner, coming in with 2 bands, 1 podcast, and 42 episodes as of this recording, it's the musical maniac, the Peter Molyneux Masher, the Isles of Annihilation himself. It's Nathan Isles. Yeah, I listened to your show. All right, gentlemen, we've gone beforehand, so Nathan gets to pick the first category. As we know, we are playing Two Truths and a Lie, so I'll be reading out 3 statements. Whoever guesses the most lies out of all of them wins. Nathan, you get to pick first out of the following 5 categories. Absolute bull. Dang nature, you litigious. Ah, the good old days. Better dead than red. And of course, the grab bag.
Well, folks, I have been listening to a lot of Dan Carlin lately, so I'm going to have to go with better dead than red.
Oh, a solid choice. That may have also been playing a little in the background at some point. It's fine. All right, so the following statements are the following. Number 1. During the Cold War, the United States practiced a policy of containment, basically trying to reduce the spread of communist influence in as many ways as possible. One of the sticking points was Indonesia. Sukarno, Indonesia's first president after they declared their freedom from the Dutch in 1945, was a strong anti-imperialist who wanted absolutely nothing to do with the burgeoning proxy wars between the United States and the Soviet Union. Naturally, the Americans didn't like that. So, Sukarno sought to further ties with the Soviets to try and maintain his neutrality. As with many things deemed anti-American at the time, the CIA was brought in. So naturally, in 1958, CIA agents attempted to discredit the Indonesian president by making a pornographic film starring the man wearing the mask that looked like him. Whether or not the Sukarno double was convincing or not would never be known, as the film was never used. So to summarize, the CIA made a porno starring a look-alike of Indonesia's first president. Number 2. During the Cold War, the CIA seemed to operate on a "there's no bad ideas" theory. especially when it came to removing troublesome and/or communist-leading heads of state. One particular thorn in their sides during the 1950s and 60s was Fidel Castro, the leader of Cuba. One of the ways they spitballed having Castro killed was in fact by his brother Raul. Problem was, Raul loved Fidel. So the CIA experimented with an offshoot of MKUltra, imaginatively codenamed CKUltra, where instead of the goal being to weaken a subject's will to force confessions, it would be to trigger an action on a verbal signal, with the subject having no recollection of this conditioning. After 5 years and approximately $80 million US in funding, the CIA decided the path was no longer worth pursuing. Statement number 3. At one point during the 1985 Geneva summit, President Ronald Reagan and Soviet Premier Mikhail Gorbachev took a break from negotiations on nuclear stockpile reductions to take a walk. Only their private interpreters were present, and for years, the details on what they talked about were kept secret from both the Russian and the American public. During a 2009 interview, however, Gorbachev revealed that Reagan asked him point blank if they could set aside their differences in case the world was invaded by aliens. To his credit, Gorbachev agreed to this promise, and for the remainder of both men's term in office, there was an unofficial agreement of a Cold War ceasefire should the world be invaded by aliens. All right, Nathan, you got to choose the category, so Dawar, you get to pick first. We're just gonna get which one of these statements you think is the lie first, and then afterwards we'll get the explanation after both of you have locked in.
I think the first one's a lie.
All right, Dawar, you think the first one is the lie. You think there wasn't a porno made of the Indonesian president lookalike.
I think that if there was a porno, it would have been. Oh, right. Sorry.
Nope, absolutely. I would say, Nathan, how about yourself?
I'm going to go with the first one as well.
Fair enough. All right, Dawar, why do you think the CIA isn't shooting a porno?
Oh, I think they definitely shot the porno. I just think that if they shot it, they would have distributed it.
Nope, that's fair. So you just think they would have gone a little bit further. Nathan, how about yourself?
I'm pretty sure I'm familiar with this story, and I think it actually was the president, and he asked for extra copies or something. It wasn't a lookalike. So I'm hoping I'm right about this.
Nope, that would have been an incredibly baller move, but unfortunately, you both are incorrect. I was just going to say that was actually the truth. I was just going to say they just didn't try to. They just didn't try. It was number 2 was the lie. They didn't try. They didn't try and basically make Raul Castro go full Manchurian candidate.
Damn it. Oh well.
But yeah, no, I was just going to say they put in. Actually, genuinely looking into the Indonesian porno, there was a lot of effort put into that, and I am stunned they didn't distribute it.
Yeah, that just shocked me.
All right, so I was just going to say we are still at 0-0. Dawar, you are looking for. I would say you are looking for.
Grab bag.
You're going for the grab bag right away. Okay, fair enough. We appreciate the enthusiasm.
Woo!
All right, as listeners of the show know, and also, you guys have gone through this before. It's a bit of everything. So, statement number 1. In addition to being one of the most consumed meat brands in the world, and the most famous canned meat around, for what it's worth, Spam has something of a mystery surrounding its name. Its producer, Hormel Foods, had a competition in 1937 to name their new canned lunch meat product, and a man named Ken Dagno won $100 by suggesting the name Spam. Granted, Dagno was the brother of one of the vice presidents of Hormel Foods at the time, so nepotism can't necessarily be quite ruled out. But as to what Spam actually meant, it remained a secret among Hormel executives for over 15 years. For over 50 years until 1991, when a reporter for Eater magazine managed to find out the truth. It's an acronym, standing for Scientifically Processed Animal Matter. Number 2. Rasputin by Boney M was a spectacularly successful song when it was released, especially in the Soviet Union. Nathan's bobbing his head right now. I guarantee you it's just rattling around in his head right now. Yeah. That is going to be in your head forever now. I would say it was such a successful song to the extent that it revived interest in the pre-Soviet era history of that time. As you can imagine, that was not a thing the Soviet Union wanted in any way, shape, or form. So, to try and combat this, they barred Boney M from performing the song on any of their tour dates in 1978. The Polish government officials attempted to do the same thing during a festival in Sopot in 1979, but this time the band ignored them, played the full version, and had to leave the country within 24 hours. Number 3. From 1912 to 1948, the Olympics awarded official medals for painting, sculpture, architecture, literature, and music alongside the athletic competitions. The originator of the modern Olympics, Baron Pierre de Coubertin, saw the artistic competitions as integral to the Olympic spirit, as he believed the original Greek Olympic champions were not just athletes, but masters of art as well. As a result, and due to the sheer force of the Baron's will, there were 151 medals given out over to the 12 Olympics, where he was the head of the IOC, or International Olympics Committee, within artistic competitions. So Dawar, you got to pick the category, so Nathan, you get to guess first. Which one is the lie?
I'm going to go number 3, the Olympics one.
All right, you're going number 3. All right, Dawar, how about yourself?
Number 2.
Number 2. All right, Nathan, you don't think there's a gold medal for sculpture somewhere around in somebody's closet?
Nah, I don't know, man. It's all jocks there. I think that's too nerdy for them, you know?
It's true. Just imagine Justin Gatlin won like a 100-meter dash and also made a bomb-ass painting.
Like, why
the conversation started?
That's like giving me, like, you know, earlier today I took some Indian food leftovers and I made a burrito out of it. Where's my fucking Olympic gold medal for that, right? We're just going to start giving medals out for everything. I just don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't buy it. I don't buy it.
Yeah. You don't buy it? That's entirely fair. Dawar, why do you think Boney M ended up getting kicked out of Poland? Or you don't think so?
I don't know why he got kicked out. I don't think so. To be honest, the spam thing sounded extremely familiar, and so did the Olympics arts thing. I think I talked to someone about that like a while ago, or something similar.
Nope, that's entirely. Listen, that's entirely fair. Listen, it's worked for a lot of people here on the show. Just like, great, the other two seem true. Let's go with the third. That's entirely fair. Unfortunately for the both of you, you guys are both wrong once again.
What?
I was just going to say, nobody except for, quote, basically a small group of horrible executives know what spam means. It's all urban legends.
Really?
Yep. It's all urban legends. Every time somebody's come up with it, it's all urban legends.
My grandpa always told me growing up that it meant shoulder of pork and ham.
You know, again, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. But the horrible executives just won't tell. I would say won't tell. So really, there's only one thing. One of the three of us needs to get aggressively high up in food ownership, and then we'll fucking know.
All right, Brayden, you got
all right, yeah, no, it's time to switch my career around from civil servant and relative and mediocre podcaster to food executive.
Well, I was going to say spam detective, but that works too.
We are still at goose eggs on either side. So, Nathan, absolute bull, dang nature, you litigious, or the good old days.
The good old days.
We're going Carlin. We're still sticking with Carlin. All right, that's fair. Or is entirely coincidental.
I think I'm just slowly morphing into him.
No,
that's why I always have a hat on these days.
You know, that's fair. I wasn't gonna mention that, but yeah, no, it's just again, if you're gonna morph into any podcaster, Dan Carlin's the one to go for, I reckon. Or either that.
I like to say, it's like hardcore history for video games, but then we do dick jokes at the same time, you know. So it's you know, it's put them next to each other in the queue. Give us a 5-star on the Apple Music Store or whatever, wherever you download it. I don't know who downloads podcasts these days.
Oh God, I would say don't say that. I'm desperate. I was just gonna say the three of us desperately hope at least fucking somebody. So yes, long story short, we're getting it out now. If you like hardcore history, you will love Last Gen Arcade. If we can get like 100th of Carlin's audience over there, we're fine. We can make a living. We can make a living, maybe. Anyways.
What was method of you want to see my older shows, you pay me for it, buddy. Like everything past like episodes 1 through like 57, I had to pay like $100 for them. You know what? And worth it. Know your worth, podcasters.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna start doing that.
There we are. It's out for 2 weeks, and then fuck it behind the paywall. Behind the paywall. Oh God, I need a paywall. God, I need people to pay for a paywall. Anyways, time for that later. For now, we've got a third category. The good old days. There is a 16th century children's game called Snapdragon, primarily played on Christmas Eve. In it, all you need was a pan of warmed brandy and raisins, staples in apparently the 16th century households. You put the raisins in the brandy, you light the brandy on fire, turn off the lights, and then children would take turns reaching into a flaming pan to eat the raisins submerged within the brandy. The theory was, again, you'd be fine so long as you moved quickly. As with so many things of reaching into goddamn fire. And again, if you didn't, well, you have a burn to remember you to be faster next time. It was the 16th century, children needed to heal fast. Number 2. The entirety of why witches look the way they do in pop culture and scary stories is because they come from women in medieval villages that used to brew beer. Before there were, working sewage systems and potable water tests, most of the people had to drink essentially weak beer all day because the liquid just fermented, killing any bacteria within the water. Who was in charge of making all this weak beer to keep people from dying from diphtheria or other waterborne diseases? The alewives, of course. They brewed beer in massive cauldrons, carried brooms around to sweep up any hops or barley and rye on the floor, and of course, maintained cats to keep any mice out of their grains. A cauldron, a broom, and a cat were 3 major indicators of witches in modern retelling, and this is where that comes from. Long story short, witches look like they are because apparently we hate women. Number 3. Knights on horseback are an enduring part of fantasy and fiction, fully armored champions of justice and nobility. However, the reality is a little bit less, impressive. Most knights were indeed armored in plate mail, but only on their front. The armor was held up by straps in the back. While this partially served a practical purpose, as the mining and smelting of the high-quality metal needed to create a full suit of plate armor was often cost and energy prohibitive for smaller fiefdoms, the half armor also served a secondary purpose: to make retreat a far less viable option. You see, if the knights turned around to retreat, they would present a very open target for any archers within the area. As a result, knights with the half plate were known to hold the front lines as much as possible. Because if your armor's on the front, you ain't gonna turn around and run away. Alright, Nathan, you have chosen the good old days, so Dawar, you get to choose your guess first.
Shit.
Going with number 3. Alright. Nathan, how about yourself?
I'm going with number 3 as well, and I have a very funny reason for it. So I'm excited to talk about it, Will.
Yeah, I was just going to say...
You will. My bad. Braden.
It's all right. Listen, beyond a certain point, you're not the first person to call me by their co-host's name, and God damn it, you won't be the last. All right, Dawar, why do you think that I would say that knights on horseback were not armored only in the front?
Because the story sounded too real.
Don't trust your guts. That's entirely fair. That's entirely fair, and it's worked surprisingly well for a lot of people here. Nathan, I'm really excited now. You called me by the wrong name, and you've got a story, so now make it real good.
I went down like a medieval armor Wikipedia. My pocket, we just covered Fable recently, so I was like in this kind of medieval fantasy Wikipedia like hole recently, and I was wondering like how knights took a shit like when they were out on the battlefield and whatnot. And I read this account about how they would get there when they were in full plate. If they had to pee, they would just piss, like whatever. It's not worth it to unstrap and everything. But if they had to go number 2, they get their squire to reach under and like pull the plate out, and they just squat on the battlefield and do it. And so I feel like if there's no plate armor on the back, like on the ass, that wouldn't even be a thing, right? So, but I realized now you said they're on horsebacks, and now I'm like double thinking myself. But I'm stick with it. So
nope, that is entirely fair, and you're right. That's a very, very funny reason. Well, I'm just going to say, good news, you guys. You are both on the board now. You are correct. That was the lie. That was the lie.
Let's go.
Yeah, no, it's just saying, again, they've got like the top part. They've got the top part armored. They just don't armor the legs too much. But again, that's primarily due to horse-based reasons rather than cowardice-based reasons. So yeah, I would say you were both correct. That was the lie. All right, so we're 1-1 with two rounds left. This is going to be a very interesting semifinal match. All right, Dawar, you've got a choice between Absolute Bull and dang, Nature, you litigious. Okay, you didn't even need that second one. You didn't even need that second one. You didn't even need it. You didn't even need it. That's totally fair. God, I hope you're right. God, I hope you're right.
I might be bullshit.
We'll find.
Bullshit. Okay.
Well played. Well played. We appreciate wordplay here on What No You Explain. So, statement number 1. One of the main marks for a bull ride at the rodeo is basically how well the bull performs. Or to put it another way, how much the bull tries to buck off and murder the rider. A good ride by a cowboy can earn him no money because of the lackluster performance of the bull. One of the ways that some cowboys used to ensure that they had a high grade for the bull performance at least would be to have a person nearby to the chute where the cowboy and the bull were, and they would flick the bull in the testicles as hard as they could. Not enough to cripple the bull, but enough to make him angry. This practice went away with the advent of televised rodeos because the eyes of thousands of people are harder to avoid than a couple of people within an arena. Statement number 2. One of the more well-known facts about bulls is that they absolutely hate the color red. Absolutely hate it. Wave something even remotely red at them, they'll go nuts. That's not actually true. In fact, bulls are pretty ambivalent to color given that they have dichromatic vision. One type of cone detects shorter wavelengths of light in the red-violet area, and the other detects longer wavelengths in the green-yellow area. So it's basically they can see red, green, yellow, and purple. Not much else. So, why are bulls thought to be so angry about red capes? Oh, it's pretty much because matadors use them in the final stages of a bullfight. Before that, the bull has been stabbed in the neck with a spear, then stabbed 4 times with wooden sticks by a matador before the cape comes out. So really, he's been stabbed 5 times, so the bull's pissed off about a few other things. Number 3. You may have heard the phrase, "when pigs fly," used as a reply to somebody being asked to do something that they have no interest in doing. Well, if you hear that response, good news. They should have done it about 114 years ago for you. The first historically recorded flight of a pig was on November 4th, 1909. The pig was flown alongside J.T.C. Moore Brabazon, later the first Lord Brabazon of Tara, because again, maniacs get lordships, that's a fact of history, and the second person ever in Britain to receive a pilot's license. The pig was put in a wicker basket and took off with Lord Brabazon. The pig arrived safely back on the ground about half an hour later after what I assume must be the closest thing to an existential crisis that a pig can have. So, Nathan, Dawar chose the category. You get to choose the answer first. Which one is the lie?
I think it's the first one.
All right, we're locking you in. We're locking you in.
That's the testicle, right?
That's a testicle. That's a testicle one. That's a testicle one. All right, Dawar.
See, I agree with them on the first one, but I want that to be true. So I'm going with the second one.
All right, fair enough. You're going with the second one. I would say you're power positive thinking the game. I won't lie to you. That is a strategy that has not at least been told to me that it's been used. So, Nathan, why do you think people are good to the testicles of bulls?
I mean, I almost picked 2 because I feel like I read something once about how it's like the movement of the cape specifically that pisses the bull off, not like getting speared or whatever. But I don't know. The testicle thing just sounds too funny. I don't know, man. And I don't think they'd care about televising that. Like, there's lots of also they got cattle prods and shit, right? Like, I don't know. You could pretty easily get away with it. I don't know. I don't feel like it's. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it, Braden.
Nope, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. Listen, there's a 1 in 3 chance. Everything I'm saying is bullshit. So, That's your skepticism is
Absolute
warranted.
bullshit.
Absolute bullshit. All right, Dawar, why do you think that again? You know, there's other reasons. Why do you think
I'm pretty sure I've read what Nathan has read before about it being the motion thing and not actually them poking bulls with freaking knives and shit.
No, that's fair. All right, so we're locked in, and Nathan, you have pulled ahead. You are correct. You are correct.
Yes.
You're right. There are cattle prods. You don't need to flick a bull in the testicles. Though I reckon it would probably work equivalently well to anger them.
Really wanted that to be true.
Yeah. No, I was just gonna say nope. That is again.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the salary of the guy in this theoretical reality where someone is crawling out to, you know, like, I don't know if y'all have ever seen like a rodeo like they have here in Calgary, for example. It's
we used to live in Calgary, man.
I don't know if you could pay me enough to crawl out and flick a like and bulls are big.
Yep,
they're thick boys. You know, I just don't buy it, folks.
See, I would say counterpoint, those goddamn rodeo clowns that are not paid very well at all. It's just like, great, you get to immediately try and distract the bulls to try and murder them.
They're actually called cow punchers, Braden. So
I ain't never seen him punch a cow, Nathan. I ain't never seen him punch a cow. All right, Nathan. You've got a choice of dang nature, you litigious. That's it.
All right. Well, let me think about this. I think I'm going to go with dang nature, litigious. That's the word, right?
Litigious. Dang nature,
like law.
You litigious. Yep.
Like lawyers.
Like law and lawyers.
All right.
Yep. All right. So, again, these are statements about nature and laws, as you might have gathered. Statement number 1. One of the few areas that Florida lawmakers and I have in common is an abiding love for adorable manatees. According to the Florida Manatee Sanctuary Act, it is illegal to molest, harass, or disturb a manatee under penalty of a $500 fine or 6 months in jail. They do, and interestingly enough, they do not mess around with that enforcement. A Florida man, 21-year-old Ryan William Waterman, posted pictures of himself and his 2 daughters hugging and playing with a manatee calf on the banks of the river. Problem was, the manatee was on land, and Waterman was the reason it was brought on land, as he had a picture taken of him picking up said manatee calf and bringing it onto land. He was arrested after Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission investigators, say that 5 times fast, filed charges with the state attorney's office, and he was released on a $2,500 bail because he posted it on Facebook. Number 2. One of the many difficulties that the United States had with the Vietnam War was not that it was an unpopular war at home and abroad, nor was it the guerrilla tactics that the Viet Cong were using with significant success. No, the difficulty that we'll be talking about relates to the fact that the Vietnamese pigtailed monkeys kept on making off with supplies on the bases. Pigtailed monkeys are approximately 1.5 to 2 feet long in terms of body length and live in herds of up to 40 primates. So, when one of these primates finds something interesting in, let's say, an American army camp outside of Vietnam jungle, he'll bring his friends. Monkey-based theft got to be so rampant that General William Westmoreland, the man in charge of American operations in Vietnam, ordered them to be treated as enemy combatants. Number 3. In 2015, officials in India arrested a pigeon that they suspected might be a Pakistani spy. The pigeon's body was stamped with a message written in Urdu, Pakistan's official language, and what appeared to be a Pakistani phone number. The bird had been sighted near the Kashmir region, which both India and Pakistan have claimed as their own, and was reported to Indian authorities, who managed to capture the pigeon and bring it to a veterinary hospital to x-ray it for potential further information. Even though the x-rays turned up nothing, the Indian authorities kept the bird in custody, reporting it as a, quote, suspected spy in their police blotter. All right, Nathan, you kind of chose the category, so Dawar, you get to go first. Which one do you think is the lie?
Okay, this manatee thing seems plausible.
Anything if you stick Florida man on it, it tends to make it a little more plausible. So that's I think that's the first time I've actually used a Florida man story in all of this.
I'm going with the pigeon, because that just sounds ridiculous.
Nope, that's totally fair. I would say All right, so Dawar, you're going with the pigeon. Nathan, what are we thinking?
I'm gonna go number 2, the Vietnamese monkeys.
All right, you're going with the Vietnamese monkeys. Dawar, why do you think Indian police authorities would be that lenient with suspected Pakistani spy pigeons?
Non-lenient, you mean?
Oh no, I think. I was just gonna say that. I would say you were saying that the pigeon arresting was the lie. Why do you think they'd be lenient? Why do you think they wouldn't arrest a Pakistani spy pigeon?
Like it's a freaking bird, you know?
No, that's true. That's true. All right, Nathan. I would say, why do you think Americans aren't going to be shooting at Vietnamese pigtailed monkeys?
These all implausible, but like my grandpa's a big Vietnam War like buff, and I just feel like I would have heard about these fucking monkeys from him if this was a thing. I feel like this would have happened. I don't know. I also feel like it would have been in a movie like Platoon or something, right? Like yeah. And also like guns are loud and shit. I just don't, with people doing like live, I imagine firearms exercises and whatnot on American field bases. I don't think monkeys would want to be around, you know? So.
And the logic sounds sound. I feel like
No, again, this is why I have you guys lock in the answers first.
Yeah.
Listen, there's method to our madness, but that is a very fair point. And Nathan, I will say that your Wikipedia wormholes and knowledgeable relations, they paid off again. That is the lie. Ooh. That is the lie.
I mean, impeccably written, because it's like you even have a sergeant name or something like in there. I think. Right?
Oh no, I looked that up. Like I genuinely was just like, okay, motherfucker, if we're gonna do this, let's do this properly. Let's find out who's actually in charge of the Vietnam operations. I would say American operations in Vietnam. Let's do this properly. Sweet. But yeah, no, that is the lie. So that is 3. I would say that is, well, I was just going to say with 3 correct guesses to 1, Nathan, you're the winner. You get to go on to the finals to take on, whoever there's going to be. So again, I would say, so actually, first of all, thank you very, very much for you both for being here. And Nathan, as the winner, would you like to plug any of your projects first?
That was super fun. Thanks for having me. And, man, you're just so good at writing bullshit, Braden. It's insane. It's
I'm using that as a pull quote. Thank you very much. That's the pull quote.
Yeah, seriously. It's very impressive. I'm sure Dawar would agree. Yeah, I have a podcast called Last Gen Arcade. It is about video games, but it's also just fun. And we aim to make it feel like you're hanging out with us. So just give it a whirl. I promise. Even if you're not super into video games, I think you'll find something to like. It's a lot of us just I mean, not like full, 5-hour Joe Rogan experience type hanging out, but it's pretty casual and fun. And I am in a band called Brain Bent, and we have some recordings on Spotify, and we prefer Bandcamp. Please pay us for our music. We work very hard on it, but if that's not possible, it is on Spotify and whatnot because capitalism demands it. So those are the major things right now.
No, totally fair. And Dawar, as a valiant second placer, you got anything you want to plug? I would say, a podcast that's coming up.
Yeah. So, Conversation with a Friend is about to start releasing on a regular basis again. So that's going to be coming out within 2 weeks here. And then on top of that, branching off from a Conversation with a Friend, we've started life coaching. So if anyone is looking for guidance to looking inside themselves or anything like that, Inner Quest Guidance is now a thing and has already had some successful clients. So if you guys are looking for guidance, come on up.
No, fantastic. And again, I would say we'll put the links in the show notes of the podcast. I would just say, and again, thank you both for coming in, and to everyone, thanks for joining us here at Madison Square Garden, where tonight Nathan Isles reigns supreme and heads on to the final round of the What No You Explain Tournament of Champions. In 2 weeks, tune in to see who his opponent will be. Thank you both for coming in. I know it's a busy time. So for all the Braden Thorvaldson scattered around Madison Square Garden, I'm Braden Thorvaldson, and again, have a good night.